you're in a unique position because there's not a lot of pastors that come in and take over, and the founding pastor is still around and very present, and the sophomore pastor is, not far away. He's still visible. Like, what's that been like?
When they told me that in one of the interviews, they said, the founding pastor is still here. I don't know what my face did, but I assume my eyebrows went up a little bit because when you're not here, you just go, you hear that dynamic and you go, that's going to be rough. In that moment when I probably paused when they told me that, and what they said was, they said, oh, but don't worry, Jack Norman, you'll find, will be your biggest supporter. And when they said that, it's like, oh, yeah, maybe. We'll see. And I'm telling you, nothing has been further from, excuse me.
Oh. I love it.
You got to edit that out.
We're keeping that in.
Nothing could have been truer than that, is what I'm trying to say. Because I remember asking Jack, I said, how do I honor what you've poured in? Because I thought about that too. Like, how do you launch something like this as a leader and then watch it go into the hands of people, that just aren't you? I don't care how much you like them or how good they are, they're not you. And that's got to be hard. And so I asked him that question one time, and he just said, you just do the will of God. That's how you honor, because that's what I've always tried to do. And so when you ask, like, how's that been? It's like, well, if you're not here, you think it sounds like a tough dynamic, but once you're here, you go, I don't know where I'd be without Jack. I don't know where I'd be without David. One day I'll be sitting there or maybe there, and there'll be one or two other guys, and they'll be making this video, and we'll be, 75-year anniversary or something like that. And will I have the same grace and humility to share that moment with two other guys and go, yeah, they did it. Jack and David did it for me.
There is a big possibility if you do the 75th, David and I won't be
here. We won't be here. Yeah, you guys will have to do that by yourself.
Well, notice I said sitting here with two other guys.
Yeah, I'd love to get all of you to kind of share what challenges do you see the church having to face, the church having to address, pastors having to be ready for. What do you see on the horizon? What do we need to be preparing for?
I think probably it hasn't changed from when I was a very young pastor. I started pastoring when I was 19. I don't think anything basically has changed from the thing that is the most important, and that is the willingness of the church to change with the time. A church that won't change is going to die. Yes. So I don't know what the future generations are going to be like. But whatever it is, the church has to be willing to do the ministry that will reach them. Mm-hmm. And it will be different than we're doing today, I'm sure.
It's easy to go on a mission field and think of, okay, I have to understand this culture before I just, thrust the gospel into it. And sometimes we don't think about our own, area as a unique culture that we have to appreciate and understand, and not bow to, but understand if you're going to reach anybody.
I'm at the end of my ministry, and I look back. But if I look into the future, I can see the day when these screens will be gone, mm-hmm. and there'll be gigantic TV screens, mm-hmm. which will be better and brighter. Mm-hmm. I can see the pews gone and chairs out there, maybe in pods or whatever. However it would work. So many times the church has taken the church and the principles and built fences around it to protect it, and the fence is more important than the principle. Where sometimes we gotta tear down what we erroneously build up so the principle remains. And that's always gonna be that people need Jesus Christ. They need to be discipled. They need to be loved. The method to get them there is going to change. So it's got to be that final willingness in the future to change whatever needs to be changed.
I think as I look out and see the future for Brookside, I think some of the great challenges that that are in front of you that are exciting and thrilling. The first is to reach the next generation and to disciple the next generation and to actually raise up leaders in the next generation. I think this church will continue to lead the way forward in community transformation. And the third is, and I think it will happen, and I have prayed for it for many years, will be where the church here is not only strong locally, not only strong in the community, but I believe that God wants you to be a global presence and reaching around the world and helping disciple people around the world.
What can we do to serve our pastors in our churches? And what can we do to pray for our pastors as they lead us?
I think probably it comes back to what Ryan mentioned, that I said to him, that all he has to do is the will of God. And so the body needs to have confidence in the pastors and know that they're speaking for God. But if the body of believers will say, this is God's man and this is what he's saying to him, and they support that, there's no stopping the church.
I think this is probably one of the greatest supportive churches that I've ever been around. I think for Ryan, if they continue like they have to love him, pray for him, lift him up, treat him as the man of God with great respect, and be the pastor. Let him be the pastor. There's no stopping.
Yeah.
The way the church just is patient with me, for one, lets me figure out how to learn how to lead in this context is huge. But also the way that, to continue to support my family in the way they do, when I know that my family is cared for and they feel cared for, then if you just ask how that helps me, well, I get to go home to a family that knows they're loved by this church. That kind of patience and prayer and investment that has been going on, for that to continue, I think enables me, if that's your question, enables me to be what God's calling me to be. I want to be able to say what these two guys have been able to say, and that I gave my all, and I left Brookside in the best possible position to continue to make an impact in this community, and to think about the rejoicing that all of us get to do one day in heaven. And I'll get to heaven and they'll say, the founding pastor of Brookside's still here.
That's true.
And I'll say, well, glory to God. I can't wait to celebrate.